Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Do you want to know what it is?
There's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
There's a special rug in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch.
He peed on my rug!
He peed on the dude's rug.
Do your worst.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Welcome to your feature presentation. I am your host, Heath Fall. Today we are talking about movies coming out this weekend and our best opening scenes. Joining me today is Andrew McKay.
Good evening, Heath. Pop quiz for you.
Oh.
Okay. Which disease or what disease was Harrison Ford suffering from when he was shooting the scene where he shoots the swordsman in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Whoa.
He shoots the swordsman, and he was actually, Harrison Ford as the actor, was suffering from a disease. What disease?
Was it blasphemy?
Wrong answer, dysentery. Move on to the next question.
Was it actually dysentery?
It was dysentery, yeah. It was.
Wow. So that's the famous scene where the sword guy comes out, swings his sword around, and then Harrison Ford just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Yes.
And the rumor is that was a scene that was done that way because Harrison Ford was sick. He didn't feel like doing it, so he just did that.
So he just
People thought it was funny.
Yeah, and it was dysentery.
Huh.
Good old Oregon Trail throwback.
Call me the opposite of disinterested. So.
Oh man, interested.
Interested. Well, because dysentery, disinterested, but I was interested. I don't know. So there we go.
If we don't have dysentery, does that mean we are in Terry?
Yeah. Sure, let's go with that.
How are you today, in Terry?
In Terry. Thanks for joining. Let's launch right into our movie talk. So we got a couple fun movies coming out. We got If, The Strangers, and what else, Andrew?
Back to Black.
Back to Black. Yeah, you got some synopsises?
Mm-hmm. So If is about a young girl who goes through a difficult experience, begins to see everyone's imaginary friends who have been left behind as their real-life friends have grown up. That's If.
Fun family movie. You know, that's John Krasinski directed. I realized on our last episode I just said Jim Halpert, which is his Office character.
Yeah, it's synonymous.
Yeah, I said it as a joke, but then I was like, but he is Jim Halpert, you know? So, that one looks fun.
He's only Jim Halpert for the people who like The Office, which may only makes one of us here.
You hate The Office?
Whoa, hate? Slow your roll, Heath.
Dislike?
I just don't like The Office. I don't think it's very funny.
Whoa, hot take. But this is a movie podcast, so when The Office makes a movie, we'll discuss it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man, that should be. Wow, that's really interesting. We've never talked about this on our pod.
Instead of when hell freezes over, when The Office makes a movie.
When The Office makes a movie, I'll show up. So. Awesome. All right. So The Strangers, a horror movie.
Yeah. Strangers, Chapter 1. After their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by three masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. And if you have seen the original The Strangers, that will completely check out. Have you seen that movie, Heath?
No, I have not. Wait. Is that with who's in that? Liv Tyler? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. I have seen that. I forgot about that.
To be honest, one of the scariest experiences I've had with a scary movie. That one freaked me out beyond comprehension.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, I was going to say, because it's home invasion. It feels very connected to real. Maybe more plausible, I guess, than Jason Voorhees, but
I agree.
You never know.
Yeah. Then we got Back to Black. This is the life and music of Amy Winehouse through the journey of adolescence to adulthood and the creation of one of the best-selling albums of our time.
I can't name you one Amy Winehouse song. I apologize.
I think that both of our wives would be disappointed
yeah,
by us saying that. So lucky for us, they don't listen to this podcast.
right. I'm gonna hear about this later.
I'm so sorry.
No. Sweet. All right. So yeah. So today we're talking about our favorite opening movie scenes. So just like the movies that we really enjoy, that were just like, man, the opening scene just gets you. So we've narrowed it down to 5. Got some honorable mentions and one hot take. The hot take literally had me flabbergasted today. I voice memoed Andrew and I was like, "Are you serious?" And then he had to correct himself. And then I said, "But are you still serious?"
There was a misunderstanding, and it didn't help that I clarified the misunderstanding.
It was confusing, and then I just had to call him. So
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that at the end. A little hot take. That'll be fun. So yeah, we just have 5 movies, and obviously there's a lot of great opening scenes. So we just want to talk about 5 of our favorite. So let's kick it off here. Do you have a one you want to start with, or you want me to pick?
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to start off with 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
I mean, I'm not going to describe each of these openings, but I think that opening sequence for 2001 is so iconic. Most people would recognize it, even if they haven't seen the movie. For example, the opening sequence for Barbie that came out last year is a shot-for-shot remake of the opening sequence for 2001. So it's so iconic. Excuse me. So iconic in the world of film that it gets imitated by movies like Barbie. And it's definitely in a comedic sense, but I just think it was a really terrific, creative, and a very interesting opening sequence for a space movie. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and kudos to Greta Gerwig for that opening, because
seriously,
I really enjoyed Barbie, but I went in thinking this was gonna be like a girls' movie that I wasn't gonna be interested in. I was like, oh, it might be funny, but like, man, to me, not only did I laugh and find it like really funny, but that scene was like, this is a director, like in the best of ways. You know what I mean? Like just like she has, I don't know, just a quality about her, and it really got me hyped. Even though it was a comedy, I can't wait to see more like serious stuff, especially because she's like supposedly helming some like Chronicles of Narnia like TV show and things like that for Netflix. So I don't know, it's just like, oh, that was so good. That was funny, and that opening scene, man. So I'll describe it a little bit, because one of the best things about it is it opens up in all these, the song. You've heard the song. Everyone's like, oh, I've never seen it. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard that song. Bum, bum, you know. So the opening scene, so I can't remember the correct term, but just like the caveman type thing.
Yep.
And you think it's like, you know, one of those style movies, and I just loved it. And all of a sudden they see the monolith. They see this giant structure, and it is such an iconic, like it shifts you. It's like you think you're watching one kind of movie, and then it just blows it up, you know? And yeah, I highly agree. It's just such a well thought out. I mean, obviously it's Stanley Kubrick. Like, yeah, man, what a master of the
seriously,
of the silver screen.
Wow, you said it. Yeah, no, it really sets up the movie for being like an opening scene with Neanderthals or whatever you want to call them, who are like fighting and creating weapons and potentially like having the first war of mankind. And like going into that monolith scene, it sets the tone for the movie for you to say, well, what's going on? Like, what is that? What's happening? And it's like a hook sentence in a good paper. It really pulls you in. So
yeah, it really pulls you in. It's so easy. A caveman could do it.
They should have put that in the movie.
They should have. All right. What one you want to do next?
Oh, you pick. I picked 2001.
Okay. I'm going to bring up Star Wars: A New Hope. So I am going to describe mine in a little bit. So we chose these together, but there's definitely ones that are more Heath. There's definitely ones that are more Andrew. And we'll let you decide who's who. But the opening scene in A New Hope, I feel like it's so, you've got the crawl of what's going on, and this has been talked about a lot, I feel like, but it needs to go down as one of the best opening scenes, because you have this small ship being shot at and chased by a bigger ship. And just that iconic comes from over the camera, ship fighting, and it's so simple, but it's so perfect because it says, that guy's the underdog. He's losing. He's running away. This is the big guy who is, in control of this fight. I feel like we exactly know what everything is. We know rebels, underdog, empire, big bad, like we all in that one shot. And it's just
You're absolutely right.
what a way to start a movie and to describe what's happening. And then you immediately go into the ship. And especially in 77, you don't know who these people are, but you know that they're the underdogs, and you know that there's some type of oppression happening. And it just like, you're good. You're good to go at that point. So that just really gets me excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. And even to extend the opening sequence into the first couple lines of dialogue, like to establish that Princess Leia is trying to say like, hey, this is a political envoy, and that this big bad empire is abusing the power that they have.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that makes sense, because like it's the biggest kid on the block picking out the puny little like poly science nerd, and like breaking his glasses for no reason. That's just like the feeling that you get from it. So I feel like a lot of people can just relate to it. Like you said, you see that first 60 seconds and you're like, I understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, especially with the crawl, you're just so set up. Like, I don't know. I think there's a beauty in if a little kid can understand it, and I think that's why Star Wars is so great. I feel like I never questioned what was going on. I guess like I had questions about the material, but I'm like, I understand what's like the point. I guess
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, number 3. Ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna go for Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
So opening sequence in a diner. We have a couple sitting, kind of prepping to rob the place. And I'm sure most people are familiar. If you're not familiar, watch Pulp Fiction, watch the opening sequence. Really great. But it's one of the greatest examples that I can think of when we have a timeline jump. So the movie starts off going like point B to point C with the opening sequence. That's really interesting. You feel like you were just thrown right into it. And then it stops and it goes and goes back to point A. And that's the majority of the movie, is well before the opening sequence. And so you're wondering a little bit during the movie, like, how do we get there? What's going on with that? But also, it's just really intriguing. The best case scenario for an opening sequence is thinking like, you have to show me more. You have to tell me more about this. And that's an excellent example of that.
I mean, yeah, I think that's directed by Quentin Tarantino, and he is so good at dialogue. It's one of my favorite stories I've heard about him is that Eli Roth was at his house and there was like a scene thrown away, and he pulled it out of the trash and read the scene, and it was like, this was the best scene ever. And he goes and he asked like Quentin, like, what is this? What is this for? He's like, oh, that was an idea I was working on, but I decided not to do that, so I threw it away. And like Eli Roth would say like, oh, so Tarantino's garbage is better than anything I will ever do. And I just think that's such a funny like perspective of someone who is a master at their craft. And you see that in Pulp Fiction. I think the whole reason you're drawn in is because his dialogue is about nothing but everything at the same time, and it's like, I don't know, would you give me a foot massage? Like, I'd give you a foot massage. Like, well, no, that's weird. Well, then why is it weird? Like, it's like, it intrigues you. And you're like, that is interesting. I have never thought about that. Like, why is it weird, to give someone a foot massage? And I don't know. I just thought that was so cool that how he brought you in. And then immediately it switches with the burger scene and, the guns come out. And he, for a guy who has a lot of hyper violence in his movies, he really like I really appreciate it when he waits so long, to pull it out, because it's just that like the whole thing is the hook, and then that's the wow, right?
Yeah.
Is the guns going down.
Yep. So great.
All right, let's
Okay.
I want to jump to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Perfect.
I've talked about this movie before. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like an hour and a half, which I love long movies. I love Lord of the Rings. I love even Dune. Like, I mean, a lot of these 2.5 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour movies. But you jump back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's paced so well. You don't feel like you're gypped at all. And it's just like, man, that is a movie that just doesn't have an ounce of fat on it. It is just so good. Maybe if we ever do a video on best character introductions of all time, I think I would still put Raiders of the Lost Ark, because the opening starts with him traveling through the jungle. Harrison Ford, you just see his back several times as he's like checking out artifacts, going through the woods. And then a guy pulls a gun on him, bullwhip comes out, hits the gun out of his hand. And then he steps into the light with the hero music playing. I'm like, that is how you introduce a character.
So cool.
And then the Temple of the Golden Idol goes in, and he's like seeking this artifact, trying to find the treasure. And there's the rolling boulder scene. It just, it's a movie in itself. Like the opening scene, it could cut when he jumps in the airplane, the float plane at the end.
Yep.
It's like, you gave us a movie. And that's another thing they say about Raiders is Lucas and Spielberg loved those serials. And it's like, you can split Raiders into like 20-30 minute segments, like pretty often. Like you could almost make mini movies or TV shows.
Yeah, little episodic like stories. That's really cool.
Yeah. Tune in next week to find out what happens to Indiana Jones and that snake.
No, that's exactly what it feels like.
Here's a trivia question for you. Do you know the name of the snake?
That he finds in the plane, it was like the trained snake.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Well, now I'm second guessing myself, but I believe it's Reggie. Oh,
Really?
That's just my pet snake, Reggie. You can look it up and judge me.
The pilot says, "Oh, that's just my pet snake." Is it really? He says that?
I think it's Reggie. Yeah. Now I'm
That's
second
crazy.
guessing myself, but
Well,
don't. I will
be confident.
All right, I'm going to look this up just to confirm that I didn't just give false information. And
Yeah, we don't want to lie anybody.
No, we really don't.
So coming in at number 5, is this number 1? Our favorite, potentially, is Inglourious Bastards. Yeah. Opening sequence, great score, by the way. Like great, or would you call that a soundtrack?
We just had this conversation.
Tune in next week to find out.
To hear more.
Yeah, great music in the opener. And Nazi Germany, Nazi Austria, the Nazi officer comes to interrogate a family who is allegedly hiding Jews. And I think, if I remember correctly, the music cuts out very early in the scene. Like there's opening credits with music, and then it kind of just leaves. Like it cuts out for once the dialogue happens. It builds tension with the camera work and with the dialogue, like the relationship that these two characters are building. And the tension is so palpable. It's really good.
I mean, this scene is so amazing for different reasons. I think just the language work that Christoph Waltz does. I mean, he starts off in German. They have a big conversation in French because he's talking to this French guy and his family. And then he switches to English, because it's like, oh, let's practice our English together. And like, that's the whole bit of that scene is he's like the hiding Jewish people don't know English, right? So that's why they're not reacting. And it's like, oh, it is so crafted. It's just like, you are harboring enemies of the state, are you not? And just like, it just, especially if you, yes, I love how he forgets. And it's just, wow, what a scene that really just pulls you in, and on the surface, it's two guys having a conversation over a glass of milk, and then they smoke their pipes. Like that's
so
what
funny.
like that's the description, right? And it's just like it is so much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We both went,
It's so
Yeah.
good.
You know that feeling when an opening sequence to a movie just makes you go,
You know when you get that you know what I'm saying? So those are our top just like opening scenes. We were just like, these deserve to be talked about. We just love these scenes. I had a couple honorable mentions I want to hit real quick, and then we'll go to Andrew's hot take.
Another one.
Jurassic Park, when they're loading the raptor for the first time and you don't even know it's a raptor. Scream, where the first like killing is happening with what's your favorite scary movie?
Drew Barrymore.
Yep, good old Drew. Saving Private Ryan, the D-Day beach, Lord of the Rings, like the whole intro, the world is changing, and it's just just there's a lot of great movies. So yeah, I'd love to comment, share your favorite movie opening scene, because there's so many that just like, man, there's those scenes that like they pull you in and they just hook you in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we go to your hot take?
Hot take time. Number 2.
So I would like to intro this first by sharing what I heard first.
Oh yeah.
Because I go into our shared document and I put Star Wars as an opening, and Andrew in parentheses put specifically The Last Jedi. So I can see what he's written, and I can see what he's written. So I saw that he wrote that, and I put a laugh emoji by that, because I'm like, haha, yeah, right. And then he started talking about it, and I was like, oh, wait, he's serious. I was like, The Last Jedi? Like Luke throwing his lightsaber? And then he said, oh, no, I'm sorry, The Rise of Skywalker. And I said, what?
Also, excuse me?
It's not any... Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I guess that's okay. What? All right. So I said, I can't in good conscience put that on my list for best opening scenes.
Yeah.
However, honorable mention, I want to hear your take. Let's go.
Yeah, he's letting me make my case to the people.
I will allow it.
So, dearly beloved, I gather you here today. Yeah, so I will say that I did have that typo of saying The Last Jedi, which is one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. The Rise of Skywalker is among my least favorite Star Wars anything. But that's not the point. The point is, I'll give you some context for my feelings. You know me, I base a lot of my opinions on my emotions, how things make me feel, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it.
Or why are you crying right now?
Yeah, shut up. Don't ask about it. I went to go see The Rise of Skywalker in theaters after watching also in theaters and waiting the appointed time for each movie to come out, each sequel, and had been deeply disappointed, to say the least. So Episode 9 finally rolls around. The end to a trilogy. J.J. Abrams is coming back. He did the better installment of the trilogy thus far, in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that they can rally and bring it all together. So the movie starts. The Rise of Skywalker starts. And what I see is, number one, Kylo Ren being the Kylo Ren that I wish he was from halfway through The Force Awakens. He's like ravaging this weird Star Wars planet that we don't know anything about, and these like fighting this army of people seemingly single-handedly. He's the lone survivor, it appears, of an entire battle to get this one object. And if you're into Star Wars lore, you recognize he pulls out, and in the theater I went, that's a holocron. And that, as far as I was concerned, that was, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but that was the first time there's been any sort of holocron technology in live action Star Wars. It has been all over animation, all over video games, all over books. Like the Jedi and the Sith relied heavily on holocrons. So he pulls out this holocron and it's just boom, 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 back to back. He immediately, like, it's plugged into his ship, his super cool starship, and he's doing cool stuff, flying through a dying star to get to this place. And he shows up, like, large, wide angle shot of Exegol. Recognize it immediately. If you know Star Wars lore, you know Star Wars animation, like you watch all the shows, everything, you see, okay, I know where this place is. I know where he's going. Goes there, rides the elevator down, and you hear the voice of Darth Sidious, and you're like, oh, okay, let's go, brother. You know, I just, that was the best part of the whole movie, that whole opening sequence. Kylo Ren was who I wanted him to be. He was doing cool Sith stuff that was tapping into the deep lore that had been established over decades. And even though I didn't really like it, it was a cool intro for Darth Sidious. So that's my hot take. I like that opening sequence.
That's a hot take. It's a hot take. But, you know, I'm behind that. I support that. I rewatched it for this video, and it is a beautiful opening. Like,
yeah,
the colors. And I think there's a lot of people, I think we just love Star Wars. And I'll say for myself, I would rather watch a bad Star Wars movie than like quite a few other dramas. You know, like
I agree.
I love Star Wars. They're fun. And I remember one time, we always joke about The Last Jedi, but I remember I was sick one time and stayed home from work, like really, really flu sick. And my wife, Emma, shout out, shout out. She was like, "Do you want me to put a movie on for you?" And I remember being like, "Dude, I just put a Star Wars on or something." And she put on The Last Jedi, and I almost stopped her. Like I'm barely having my eyes open. I'm really sick. She was nice enough to put on the movie, and I almost asked her to change the movie. Like, not
literally any other Star Wars movie except for this one.
But I allowed it, and I was like, you know, I think I still like that movie, and I think we could take that apart as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Star Wars. It's fun to me, and man, the visuals on the sequel trilogy are really up there. And I think you see that in The Rise of Skywalker. It looks beautiful.
It does. It does look beautiful. I will say they bring a number of things into canon, like the film canon that I did want to see. So,
and that's cool too, because you've been waiting as a fan. You've been waiting for certain things, and you're like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you've been waiting for that for like 40 years. That's
it's been 84 years. I'm trying to summon my inner woman from Titanic. It's been
84 years. And then the little throws the heart of the sea into the sea.
Into the sea with the heart of the sea to make the sea. Yeah. Great. Well, I approve of your honorable mention.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to end with something kind of fun. I had a diaper party, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Just bunch of dudes wearing diapers. No, so it's this cool thing.
That's why I didn't go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm good. No, Andrew couldn't attend, unfortunately, but it was for very good reason. You graduated with a master's degree, and it was kiddo's first birthday. Congratulations. That's really cool, man.
A lot going on.
But then, yeah, my diaper party, basically a buddy threw it. Shout out Matt Solom. We're just shouting out everybody today.
Shouting out your significant others.
Yeah, shout it out. Yeah. Hey, you want to give Annette a plug on what she's up to or what she's doing?
Shout out to Annette. I don't think she's ever listened to a podcast.
She will. She will now.
This one.
So anyways, a diaper party is basically, it's kind of like, you know, I'm going to become a dad for the second time here pretty soon. And it's basically just like, hey, have a bunch of friends over and they can all bring a box of diapers, and then you have some cigars and some drinks, you know, and just a fun, chill time. And you know I'm going to do something podcast related. So I showed or ask everyone to say their favorite movie scene and why. So I've got a little video that's just basically a couple of my friends just sharing favorite movie scenes. So we're going to go ahead and play that for you now.
One of the favorite scenes that comes to mind right away is probably the scene where in Interstellar he's trying to connect the shuttle back to the main ship and it's spinning and all chaotic. I think just between the score, the visual, and then the moment, it's just a very full scene.
My favorite movie scene, I think, of all time would probably be, if you can get past the memes and things like that, would be Pippin singing The Edge of Night to Lord Denethor and the scene of Faramir riding out. I think that's just a beautiful scene, and the cinematography is beautiful. I don't know the actor's name, but Pippin singing The Edge of Night is just beautiful, and the weight of the scene is amazing, followed up by Gandalf riding out to meet them. The symbolism's beautiful, the scene is beautiful, it's all done naturally, there's no CGI, it's a work of art, really.
I think one of my favorite scenes is from the 1995 movie Heat, the heist movie. The shootout in the street in the middle of the movie is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen.
My favorite movie scene is from the 2018 film Mission Impossible Fallout with Tom Cruise. And basically the last half hour of the film where he grabs the rope attached to the helicopter that is taking off. And basically the last part of the film, he is just climbing up the helicopter, gets on the helicopter, chases up to the helicopter in front of him, which Superman is in with the detonator for the plutonium bombs. He crashes into the helicopter. They fall down the cliff. Superman gets half his face burned off, and they're just fighting on the cliff. And they fall off the cliff, and they're climbing on the side of the cliff and just fighting. It's top notch. It's beautiful.
So my favorite scene would be the end of the Babadook when they use the metaphor of the monster for something. I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty fantastic.
My favorite scene is in the end of Oppenheimer when they are in the courtroom and there are several layers coming in, different perspectives, and that anticipation makes me really uncomfortable. But then it kind of resolves with injustice being corrected, and this kind of resolution of an unknown, and then you figure it out, and it's like an aha moment.
So my favorite movie scene, we've all seen the movie Hot Rod, hopefully, and he's breath training in the swimming pool, and his friend is screaming at his sister for different Kool-Aid, and then he almost just dies in the pool, so it's pretty great.
One of my favorite scenes is the end of Jojo Rabbit, where Jojo and the girl dance, and you get the resolution of the two enemies becoming friends, and he's changed his mind about Jews. Great music. It's a great scene.
All right, so my favorite is from Annihilation. It's a sci-fi thriller, and just the whole movie is building tension. I don't want to spoil the end, but the last scene, everything culminates, and we watch it in a packed theater, and you could hear people's heartbeat. Like, there was nothing but the movie, and it was a crazy experience.
I couldn't pick a favorite scene, but one that comes to mind from my childhood is the opening scene of Back to the Future, where there's the food rolls off the counter, feeds the dog. Like, you're seeing so much world building and scene setting in one spot, and then it kind of unfolds from there, and then they come back to it later. You're like, oh my gosh, I've been here already, but now I know what's going on, and it's really special. And you get to see the whole town. Just so much world building in one opening scene. Very memorable. Huey Lewis in the news. It's money.
And that's the power of love. Well, awesome, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Andrew, take us home.
Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, follow us on Instagram. Like, share, comment about the show on anything we post. Send it to your friends. Send it to your mom. I'm sure she likes to watch movies. We do too. You can find our full video show. You can see our beautiful faces on YouTube. Otherwise, podcast is wherever you get your podcasts. This Friday, we have a collaboration episode with the Doodads podcast. It's a movie talk. We'll be talking about a scary movie that we all have seen and grown to appreciate and, dare I say, love. So tune in Friday. We'll be talking a movie with the Doodads podcast. Love those guys.
Yeah, it was super fun. The Visit with M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, watch on Friday. Go see a movie.
Go see a movie.